Welcome to the middle of March. How'd you enjoy the first 2 weeks? It was dominated by foggy, cloudy, and cold. And I think the cold is really what got most people. I want to go into a little explanation as to what happened. How has this December been so unusually, and I think you're right to feel that way, unusually cold and certainly very foggy. The Tule fog isn't really all that out of the ordinary for us in winter, but this year it went on overdrive. In fact, let's take just a look back at the last 3 weeks. It's a high-resolution satellite of us from November 22nd. There's a date down here. I went back and I took every day from that point on. This is when it started. November 22nd was when the Tule fog outbreak began. It was kind of mild then. Didn't even get into the bay at that point. But I'm going to hit play. Every image is the next day. And from November 22nd all the way up to now on December 15th, it never changed. In fact, it just got worse and steady. Each image on there, snapshot, over us, just as we got the best daylight of the day from the high-resolution satellite above. And that is a locked-in pattern. We got to talk about how this happened. I want to talk about the impact that the fog is having on the way it feels for us, because it has been cold by many people's standards. So let's look at the connection between the two. And if we visualize the state in a slightly different way, if we know how the fog has filled in all the low spots, if I switch this and show you what the temperatures have been in California for the last 2 weeks, if you take all the daytime highs and average them out and visualize where we've been below average and where we've been above average, it's going to conform perfectly to that Tule fog. And the interesting thing about this map is we all know our lives within the fog and at the low elevations in California. This has been a cold 2 weeks. But the real story for California, just above the fog, it's been much warmer than average. And that's interesting, way warmer. 10 degrees above average in all the places in red. Meanwhile, perfectly conforming on that map, all the low spots as much as 10 degrees below average. How did this happen? If we want to understand this Tule fog outbreak and all the cold temperatures, we actually have to go back to early November, before those images showed us the fog building in. Very easy to forget this because life moves fast, weather events happen, and then we get on with our lives. But it rained a lot in California in early November. We got our share here in Northern California, but they really got a lot from like the Central Valley southward. If you look at a map for the last 30 days for rainfall, this is another anomaly map. So the deeper the shade of green, the higher above average you are. This map is showing you got several inches more than average rainfall for Southern California. They had an incredibly wet November down there, but so did the Central Valley. Look at it a different way. Instead of how far above average we are in inches, how far above average are we from the percentage of what average would be? Because in California, you need that context. A couple of inches wouldn't throw you that far off the mark of average in most places, but in California it does. We're looking at about 150% of average for rainfall over the last 30 days. The point, we saturated the ground. We put a lot of water into the soil up and down the Central Valley. And what happens with that is when the storm track clears and goes away, and then you get clear nights and the temperatures drop, like we've been doing, a lot of that moisture then starts getting sent back into the atmosphere right above it. Cold air, and the humidity starts to increase in the atmosphere right above it, and that is a perfect ingredient for fog. Damp ground, cold nights, which is what we have been doing. Let's go back to the virtual map. We've also had one other feature that has really been a dominant factor, taking a look off the coast, and it's been one of the visualizations we've been using to kind of show what the last 3 weeks has been like. We got the rain in November, and then it turned off completely. Notice it hasn't rained in a while. Big dominant center of high pressure has set up over the state. This puts a lock on the atmosphere. No storms can get in here. We know that. But look what it's doing. This is descending air. That's what high pressure is. High pressure puts a lid on the atmosphere. So now, whatever humidity is coming out of the ground at night and all those cold temperatures is being held there near the ground. Take a look at the last couple of weeks. That center of high pressure has really been locked in place. This is an anomaly map showing you the big center of high pressure over California, and it just hasn't wanted to budge for the last few weeks. So if you've got that center of high pressure there, trapping all of that now extra humid air near the ground, and the nights are getting cold because there's no clouds above, so all the warmth is radiating away, you start to develop all this radiation fog near the ground. This is the view from Mount Tam a couple of days ago. You can see the bay down here under the clouds. Look across. That's towards Mount Diablo, Walnut Creek. You're in that valley. Look at the layer of haze out there. That's the inversion. This is the best way to spot it. That center of high pressure pushing down, creating a lid, that is the patch of cold, humid air we have been living with. It's trapped. Let's go back to the map. Trapped from that center of high pressure, which has been unrelenting and does not want to give up. So here's the combination. We got all the rain in the ground. We then set the high pressure up on top of it. And now the Tule fog has been developing down within that fairly consistently now for the past several days and really for the past several weeks. And if we look at the impact that this has in terms of what it does to the landscape, that picture we were looking at was from the top of Mount Tam. This is the image of the fog from today. Go ahead, look at the North Bay. You see Mount Tam sticking up above the fog right there. So the fog's only up to about like 1,500 feet. And it is much warmer above all of that. But down in the fog, not only is it cold, let's come back out for the wide shot again. Because what this does is you've got all this damp air that you're living in. Damp air, by its very nature, makes it feel colder. The temperatures on the thermometer have been cold, sure, but they haven't been this cold. They haven't been as intensely cold as I think a lot of people say they're feeling. But if you put humidity into the air, it makes it feel colder. And even if the fog burns off, take a look at this time lapse from today. Even if the fog goes away, all the humidity is still there. It's still trapped in that inversion. So you still have some humidity. And not to mention, all that like haze is blocking the direct sunlight from allowing you to warm up in the day. It's a bad combination. The clouds block the sunlight for sure. But what a lot of people don't realize is the haze is also reflecting a lot of incoming solar radiation that would have warmed us up. If we could get rid of this inversion, let's go back to the map one last time and take a look at the daytime highs and how fascinating this has played out. When you look at where we are for daytime highs on here and how it aligns with the fog, 70 degrees in the mountains. Santa Cruz Mountain, 70 degrees. Look across to the other mountain range. Daytime highs, mid-70s here near Mount Hamilton. Get down into the valley for San Jose. You are down below that inversion. You're stuck with all the damp air. Feels colder. You're also getting blocked from direct sunlight, and that's making it colder because it's reflecting away the light, and you're not really getting any help from it that way either. What's it going to take to break this? One thing we need is for this center of high pressure to finally break down. And as we get into the middle of this week, there actually are signs of that happening. You'll see in the forecast, we've got a chance for light rain on Wednesday, more rain coming in on Friday. You cannot get rain if you're under the dominance of a center of high pressure. We're about to start breaking this down, but we're not there yet. We're going to have a couple more days of this bundle up in the mornings and in the afternoons, and then by the middle of the week, find the umbrella. We'll keep you updated as the changes play out.